Now you all have to get a little bit closer. I understand that we're in COVID, but you got to maybe push the camera back a little bit just so that we can see both of you all. Jamie's in here. Hey, Jamie. Y'all say hey to Jamie.
Hi, What's up, Jamie? What's up, girl?
So thanks for everybody that's been joining us, that's in here. So here's what happened. When I come home from work in the morning, I normally take a nap, okay? My nap was a little bit later today because I had some meetings that I had to do. But I woke up from my nap and I was like, I need to interview my parents because my father has had a long history in the U.S. Coast Guard. And my mother is his wife of how many years? How many years have y'all been together?
50
years. Not 15, y'all. 50 years my parents have been together. And it's Veterans Day. It's Veterans Day. So I was like, oh my goodness, I need to talk to my parents, my dad about his career in the Coast Guard, and my mom about, you know, her career in the Coast Guard. Because as a military wife, you have a career in the Coast Guard, just like I had a career in the Coast Guard as a military child. Now, so I called my parents. I was like, can y'all do this with me? So I called them maybe about an hour ago, y'all, and asked them to do this with me. And for those of you all that do not know, this is the very, very first time ever that I have interviewed my parents. Hey, mommy. Hey, daddy.
What's up, boo? Let's get it right. This is the first time that she's let us on Instagram.
Yeah, y'all, I had to like give them my Instagram password and stuff like that. So y'all stay about my DMs. Don't be in my DMs. Right. They don't know how to get to them. Okay. Anyway. I do. Oh, excuse me, mom. So let's start things off. You all have been together for 50 years. You all met in Charlotte, North Carolina. Both of you all are graduates from the West Charlotte High School, Dub C, you know. And then, oh, look at you, Dad. Look at you. And so you, then you both went on to Johnson C. Smith University, where you all started your college career at Johnson C. Smith University. But Dad, things took a different turn for you, and you left and joined the military. Tell us a little bit about how you came to that decision to leave Johnson C. Smith and join the Coast Guard.
Okay, well, I didn't decide to leave Johnson C. Smith. Johnson C. Smith decided that they no longer wanted me as a student because my GPA was surprisingly low. So I received a letter that invited me not to come back. So I just realized that if I wasn't in school, that my dad was going to, I don't know what my dad was going to do to me. So I decided to join the military.
And out of all of the branches, you decided to join the Coast Guard. Why the Coast Guard?
Well, I didn't initially decide on the Coast Guard. I wanted to initially go into the Air Force because I had a couple of brothers who had been in the Air Force. I had 3 brothers who had been in the Air Force. But the Air Force had a waiting list, and they couldn't take me as quickly as I wanted to go, and as quickly as I needed to go. And so I looked into the Navy, and I knew I didn't want to join the Army. I didn't want to join the Marines. And the Navy recruiter said to me, "Why don't you check out the Coast Guard?" And I said, "No, I don't want to join the Explorer Scouts. You know, I want to join the military." And so 2 weeks later, I was in boot camp in Cape May, New Jersey, joining the Coast Guard.
Wow. So when you made that decision, you and Mom were dating, or were you all married?
Dating.
You all were dating.
Yeah.
Dating.
So Dad comes to you and tells you that he is going off to join the military. What is your reaction?
Oh, I suppose I was sad. That's been so long ago. You know, I didn't want my boyfriend going away, but I understood.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a decision that he had made, so at least he'd be safe. It was the Vietnam War, and Coast Guard wasn't fighting in the Vietnam War, so at least he was safe. And at that time, if you weren't in school, you were drafted. So
Yeah. So, Daddy, what year was this that you joined?
This was in 1967.
1967. So the
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah, 60s. You know, they were drafting folk for Vietnam, so I knew I didn't want to do that. So I was looking for a good way, but not a hard way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the 60s, my homeboy Wilmo is in here. He asked, what year did you all graduate from West Charlotte High School?
65.
65. Graduates of West Charlotte High School from 1965. So in the 60s, we're dealing with the civil rights movement. We're dealing with racism. Here you are, a black man in what they call the white man's military. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was an experience for me. I grew up in a totally black community.
Beatty's-Ford Road.
Yeah, Beatty's-Ford Road, right off Beatty's-Ford Road. I went to an all-black high school. All my friends were black. I attended a black church. And then all of a sudden, I was one of 36 people reporting into boot camp at Cape May, New Jersey. And I was the only black face in the crowd.
Really?
I was nervous enough.
Really?
I was nervous enough. And we got to Cape May, New Jersey late at night, and all I could hear was somebody going, heel to toe, heel to toe, heel to toe. And everybody was running off the bus. And I didn't know what heel to toe was, you know. So, but I looked out of the window, and all of a sudden everybody was getting in line, and they had to put their toes on the heels of the person in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the only black guy out there putting his heel to toe in the front on the back of a white guy, and that was just too close for me.
Really?
That was too close for me.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my introduction.
Wow. And for those of you all that are joining us, like I said, these are my parents. This is my mother and my father. But some of this stuff I don't even know about. My dad's career in the Coast Guard, and you know how they just did it. They just did it for me. You know, it was just, they were my parents. So I don't know some of these stories. So Daddy, how was it like moving forward, being the only black person in that crowd, and how did you adjust?
Well, I think for the first couple of weeks, I was suspicious of everything and everybody, because all that I had heard growing up in the segregated South was that was not a good situation to be the only black in anything. So I was very suspicious of everyone. But after a couple of weeks, I began to adjust. But I put a lot of pressure on myself because I wanted to make sure that everybody in that organization was going to see a black guy succeed. So I just knew I wasn't going to fail because I just had too much pressure to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I did was putting my best foot forward and trying to do the best I could do. And I managed to graduate.
Yeah. How long was it, Daddy?
It was 12 weeks.
12 weeks?
12 weeks. 12 weeks of total hell.
Like what? Like what were you doing?
Oh, boot camp. I'm going to tell you, anybody who's ever been to boot camp, it is permanently ingrained in your mind.
Really?
Yeah, you might get awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning with somebody banging on trash cans, telling you to get up and get dressed and be outside in 5 minutes. And 5 minutes from just waking up. So you got to put your clothes on, and you got to make up your bed. Got to brush your teeth, do all that stuff. Be outside in 5 minutes. So It was kind of, and then you had to do physical fitness with your rifles and things of that nature. But I soon found out how to make it just a little bit easier for me.
Which is?
Yeah, that's my personality. I always look for an easy way out.
Uh-huh.
So I heard and I saw that they had a band, a marching band, a Coast Guard band.
Uh-huh.
And so I kind of migrated over to the band, and sure enough, I was accepted into the band. So when those guys were out there doing all that physical fitness stuff, I was in there beating my drums.
I did not know that, Dad. I did not know that you were in the marching band with the Coast Guard.
Yeah, I played the drums at West Charlotte, and I also played the drums at Johnson C. Smith, the Mighty 25.
Nifty 30.
Oh, Nifty 30. It wasn't many of us. But anyway, I was in the band at Johnson C. Smith, so, I knew how to read music, so I joined the Coast Guard band.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it got me out of a lot of work.
So, Mom, for you, this starts your journey of your boyfriend, who you've been dating for some time now, in the military, and he's going through 12 weeks of boot camp. Did you talk to him during that time?
No, I don't think we could talk. No. So I'm after the 12 weeks.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. How was that for you? This is what, 3 months? How was that like? What was that like?
I suppose it was stressful, Jess. Honestly, I don't remember those times. I was working. I still had my life, so I was moving on. I mean, I wasn't leaving him, but
you were still in college.
I was still in college, yeah.
Yeah.
And working in the summer and things like that, yeah.
Okay.
She had a lot of girlfriends that she could spend her time with while her boyfriend was going through hell in boot camp.
That's right. Truth be told.
And Mom, your brother, my Uncle Harold, and like Daddy said before, all of his brothers, they all, this military life is nothing new to our family.
No, it's not. No.
We've had, you've had uncles that served in the military. So, I imagine it probably was a tad bit easier because you were familiar with military life.
Not really. I had one uncle, Uncle Frank, who brought the military into our lives because he was actually in the military. He was in the Army during the time he was married to my Aunt Gladys. So we were up close and personal with the military through him. The rest of my uncles were in the military before I was born. But with Uncle Frank, he served in Vietnam. He was killed in Vietnam. And I used to receive letters from him when he was over there. So that's my closest connection to the military before actually being with her.
Okay.
Military wife, yeah.
So, Daddy, you go through boot camp, and Ashell says, and Uncle Bob. My mom's sister is also in here, and she mentioned Uncle Bob also.
Yes, he was in the military. Absolutely. Yes, he was.
So, Daddy, you finished boot camp. You've done your 12 weeks, and then what happens?
Okay. While you're in boot camp, you get to choose the profession that you want to go in. You get to choose which occupation you want to go into. And initially, I had wanted to go into the dental tech corps, but ultimately, I decided.
Hold on, time out. You wanted to be a dentist?
Well, my brother was a dental tech, so I was kind of following. I was following in his shoes.
Which one?
My brother Donald was in the Navy, and he was a dental tech.
Why did not know that?
Donald was 1 year older than I, so I was always trying to follow in his shoes. But instead of going dental tech, I went communications. I became a radioman. So out of boot camp, they sent me to Governor's Island, New York for 6 months to learn how to send and receive Morse code, to learn how to type, to learn how to do voice communications. 6 weeks in good old Governor's Island, New York.
And so at one point, do you and mom get married in your military career? What point does that happen?
We got married in '69.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe I was in Miami at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was stationed in Miami, Florida at the time. And so, yeah, it was in '69 that we got married. So after boot camp, I went to radioman school. And after radioman school, I went to Miami, Florida to do my job as a radioman.
Okay.
We got married, and then we went to Alexandria, Virginia, where he also served as a radioman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you get married, and now it is you're a military wife, but you also have your own career because you're a computer engineer.
Programmer working with computers. Yeah.
Computer programmer. And so you have your career, daddy is in the military, and you all start a family. I'm not an only child. I'm the youngest of 3. I have 2 older brothers. How did you all sort of prep for that, like merging all of that? Because it's a lot. You having your career, daddy having his career in the military, you being a computer programmer, and then you all have these kids. How did you all sort of prep for that? Was it a conversation, or was it like, this is just what we're choosing to do? This is just life.
This is just life. This is just life.
We had some conversations about it. I mean, after your mom finished college and we got married, I expected her, and I think she expected, to work in her profession. However, she did not. Instead, in Washington, D.C. area, she got an opportunity to work with computers. And with her mind, with her brain, the way it's structured, computers was right down her alley, right down her lane. So she just enjoyed that. But having kids, we knew we wanted to have kids. They didn't all come just as we had planned it, but we knew we wanted a family.
They're talking about me when they say that. When they say they didn't come as planned, they are talking about me. I was the surprise.
Oh no, you were truly a love child.
So, Daddy, throughout your 37 years serving in the Coast Guard, what were your different roles in the Coast Guard?
Wow. Well, right before I went to Miami, I was assigned in New York as a seaman. And I worked on a small boat in New York, going out doing all kinds of routine stuff. And one of the highlights of being a seaman in New York, I went out on a run one night, and we were out trying to locate a body. And we located the body floating in the water. And being the junior person on board, I was instructed to reach over and pull the body closer to the ship to the boat so we could get it on. And as I reached for the body, because it had been in the water for so long, one of the limbs came off, and that was my introduction to pure fear. But I went on.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I went on from that experience, serving as a radioman at several radio stations. Then I became a Coast Guard recruiter and served a couple years as a Coast Guard recruiter. I went on a Coast Guard icebreaker and served 2 years on a Coast Guard icebreaker, going to the North Pole and South Pole and all kinds of exotic countries in between, and seeing all kinds of exotic animals in the wild in the North and South Pole. we had an incident where we went out one day and we captured some penguins. And we were bringing the penguins back on the helicopter because I was also the postman for the ship. So I had to fly out to get the mail for the ship. So we had these penguins on board the ship, on board the helicopter. And one of them got out. One of the penguins got out of the bag and was doing his thing in the helicopter. And I'm trying to get off the helicopter, get away from the penguin, cause I'm a city boy. I don't know about penguins.
Ain't no penguins on Beattysport Road, Daddy.
No penguins, no. But anyway, ultimately, after all of that enlistment stuff, I was selected to go to Officer Candidate School.
He wasn't selected. He chose to. He realized at this point, I've got a wife and a baby son. And he made a decision. I'm on this icebreaker. I'll leave when I have an opportunity to party with my boys. And on another day, I will study. So he spent half of his time studying, prepping for this officer's candidate school exam, and the other half partying with his boys. So that.
And where were you, Mom?
I was in Seattle, Washington, because that's where the ship was based.
Okay.
So I was in Seattle, Washington, as long as your dad was in port. When he left, I would fly back to the East Coast with Mama and Shell.
Okay.
I worked, took care of Brian.
And Shell is my aunt.
I grew up on Beattysport Road, like you said. And for me, seeing a big old Coast Guard icebreaker, I had never been on growing up in Charlotte, I had never been on the water before.
Yeah.
So here I was having to live on this huge icebreaker for the next 2 years. And I tell you, for the first 6 months, I slept with a life jacket on all the time. I kept the life jacket on all the time. If something was going to happen, I was not going to be looking for a life jacket. I was going to have mine on. That was another scary time for me as a city boy joining the Coast Guard.
And how long were you on the icebreaker?
I was on there for 2 years, and I think I stayed sick a year and a half from seasickness. Yes.
And they ain't care. The Coast Guard didn't even care. You
They ain't care. They ain't care.
Get this work done.
They ain't care. They make me stand my watch even though I was sick.
Now, at this point, Mom, you're still working.
Well, I worked different jobs. Because in those days, you were not Black and just come out into a job. You had to work your way up. Mm-hmm. So I was working different jobs. At this point, I just had a job. I was working for a lab, a stat lab, where they draw your blood quickly. Mm-hmm. It was just a job to have something to do while your dad was out to sea in Seattle, and I was on the East Coast. So,
and also had Brian, my oldest brother.
I had Brian,
the first child. And so, Mom, talk a little bit about like the career that you held down, because at this point, you have that job. Daddy's deep in the military now. You have a child, and you're continuing to work. So talk about your jobs that you had and when it was that you decided to switch your career and become a housewife, because that's a career also. That's a job.
Well, this particular job was, like I said, it was just a stat job. I would ride to work with your Aunt Shell because it was right around Howard University. It was an affiliation probably with Howard, with the hospital. And it was just something to do in the daytime, a simple little job. From there, I had a few other jobs in the DC area working as a contractor. And that's what led to me doing computer work, working those jobs. Mm-hmm. And of course, like any other woman, I had my children to take care of. And so I did that, Mm-hmm. It's not something I even thought about. It's just what you do, Jess, you know. You go to work, you take care of your kids, you get up like Rodney says, is this all life about? Get up, go to work, go to school, come home, get up, life.
Rodney is my other brother, for those of you all. That's the middle child.
That was his interpretation of life at the age of 3.
And so at what point did you stop working?
I stopped working whenever we moved to a new city. You know, I would take like that first year and acclimate the family to the city. And then find something to do. Find a job somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. And so between the both of you all, can you run down every city that you all lived in?
Ooh, okay.
That many?
I can name them.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. From the time we got married, we lived in Alexandria, Virginia. And then we moved to Greensboro.
We moved to Maryland.
From Alexandria.
We moved in the house with the mom, so Maryland.
Daddy, we can hear you, so.
Okay.
We moved.
No, you can join in too. I just wanted to let you know you're whispering to mom, but we can still hear you.
We went to Alexandria, went to Greensboro. That's where I became pregnant with Rodney. You were working at the recruiting station, riding a bike to work. And he decided to go become an officer. At that point, he went to officers candidate school. After Rodney was born and he finished officers candidate school, by the way, without a college degree, people just don't get into the officer's rank, but your dad did, because when he took that exam, he scored so high that they waived the fact that he did not have a college degree and put him in the officer's rank.
I don't like it when you do that, Daddy. I don't like it when you leave stuff like that out. That's not cool.
And then he graduated number 5 in the class.
I don't like it when you do stuff like that, Daddy. I don't like it when you leave stuff like that out. You're supposed to tell us that now. Come on now.
Okay. Well, I knew I had my sidekick that we're going to tell you.
Okay. Okay.
So from there, we went back to the D.C. area. We moved to Maryland. And that's where your dad worked for the first time as an officer, downtown D.C. And that's where the most exciting job took place, because he was working at headquarters and he spent a lot of time up in the archives of the Coast Guard, where he discovered that Alex Haley had been in the Coast Guard.
Now, hold on, because I want to come back to the Alex Haley story. Hold on. I want to come back to that. So finish telling us about where you all have lived, because I want to share my Alex Haley story, but go ahead.
All right.
Okay, Washington.
So from Washington, we went to New
We
Orleans.
went to Seattle.
No, we went to New Orleans. Seattle was the first place. Seattle was Brian. Maryland was Rodney. And then we moved to New Orleans.
And that gave you who?
That gave us Boo. We were there for about 8 years. Best place I've ever lived in my life. I love New Orleans. It's so free. My favorite place. From New Orleans, we're here in the Hampton Roads area.
Yes. From New Orleans to Virginia. So a lot of different places. But even when we moved to Virginia, Brian had graduated and Ronnie had graduated, and Daddy was still being transferred to different places, because we were in Virginia and Daddy lived in Washington, D.C. He was stationed in Washington, D.C. for a couple of years. And he also, shout out to my aunt Shell, she's still in here. And you also lived in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Right.
While we were in Virginia. And I just think it's so dynamic that it seems crazy to other people, but this was just life for us, and y'all really made it work. It was normal life for us.
Well, I don't want you to skip over New Orleans either, Jessica, your birthplace.
Yes.
because everybody needs to know that's where you got your personality.
Yeah. I am a New Orleans baby, 504.
Yeah. You got your personality going to Mardi Gras and yelling, "Throw me something, mister," and just being a free little girl and walking out of the house anytime you wanted to, although you were only like 5 years old. You know, you were just a free little girl and you had just a beautiful personality, loving to have fun, loving to laugh. You and your Uncle Harold used to just have a ball together. So New Orleans was not only your birthplace, it was the establishment of Jessica Williams.
Okay, sorry, I got a phone call. Okay, so going back to the Alex Haley story, for those of you all that might not be familiar with who Alex Haley is the man who wrote Roots. That is the story of his family. So one day I was at home and I was a little girl, had no idea who Alex Haley was. Okay. And the phone rings. I answer the phone and I hear this man go, "Hello, may I speak to John Williams?" And I was like, "Who is this on the phone? He sounds really, really weird." And I was like, "Daddy, some man is on the phone with you." And Daddy starts talking. I remember saying something to Mom along the lines like, "He sounds weird." And Mom looks at me and goes, "Girl, that's Alex Haley." Like, and I'm still like, "Who?" I don't, you know, like, who? I don't know. But then later on, Mom told me who Alex Haley was, and I never knew. Once again, it's just one of those things that is just normal in my household. My daddy and Alex Haley are friends, like friends, have done commercials together. Here this man is calling my dad. I'm like, wow, what in the world? And I think even when he passed away, didn't you go to his funeral, Daddy?
I did not go to his funeral. The Coast Guard was trying to make a decision as to who should be the Coast Guard representative at the Alex Haley funeral. And although I wanted to be selected for that position, I did not get chosen to do that.
But you had an invitation or something, didn't you?
No, I did not get invited, but I established my relationship with Alex Haley. I think I was an ensign, which is the first rank of officer in the Coast Guard. When I was an ensign, I arranged to bring Alex Haley to Washington, D.C. for Black History Month. And I had learned so much about Alex Haley from reading stuff about him in the archives. And he also had a brother that lived in Washington, D.C. So I started researching all the avenues to get an inside scoop into how I could possibly get Alex Haley to Washington, D.C. And that was the beginning of my relationship with Alex Haley. And I was able to have, I think, a couple more events where I sponsored Alex Haley coming to Coast Guard events. So we really did have a, I know you, you know me kind of relationship. And that's just one of the awesome experiences that I've had after 37 years in the Coast Guard.
Well, let me tell you about Alex Haley. While he might not have been the representative at his funeral, wow, I didn't know that, Irv. What happened was when Irv reached out to Alex Haley, his first response was, "No, I don't have any love for the Coast Guard." And Irv said to him, "I understand your position because I know what you had to do when you were in there. However, can you do it for those of us who are now in the officer's rank?" And Alex Haley said, "Yes, I will." And then when he would call the Coast Guard headquarters, he would only speak to one person, and that was Lieutenant Commander, I think you were Lieutenant J.G. John Williams.
Wow.
He would talk to the commanding officer. He would not talk to the commandant. Because he would call, and if your dad wasn't in the office, he'd say, "Just tell him I call." And they tried to transfer the call higher up. He wouldn't take any of their calls. The only person that he would deal with was Lieutenant J.G. John Williams.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've got an autographed copy of Roots, by the way.
Wow, I didn't know that, Dad. What in the world?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know Brian's gonna try to get that, but I call dibs on it.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
So, you know, Mom, that gives me a great transition into the barriers that Daddy broke while he was in the Coast Guard. I remember after I graduated, one of my friends from high school, he was a high school classmate, he joined the Coast Guard. And I remember saying something like, oh, my dad's in the Coast Guard. And he was like, I know your dad. Like, your dad is legendary when it comes to Black officers in the Coast Guard. Like, he has done so much for African-American officers. And I know that, you know, CIAA, every year they set up tables, and I always go, every time I see a Coast Guard table, I'm going, or I see a Coast Guard sticker, I'm going up to somebody like, hey, my daddy's in the Coast Guard. And so many people have stopped me like, I know your father. I know your father very well. Talk about your work. And by the way, your grandson is in here. He just joined, David. But talk about, which is perfect timing, talk about your work specifically with African Americans in the military, in the white man's military, and making sure that they were able to succeed and thrive.
You know,
and also, Daddy, why was that important to you?
I think I met my first African-American Coast Guard officer when I was a third-class petty officer. And his name, well, he was the first Black pilot in the Coast Guard, and he happened to be stationed at the Coast Guard Air Station in New York while I was going to school. Bobby Wilkes was his name. While I was going to school in New York. And from that experience and having a chance to talk to Captain Wilkes, you know, I got kind of motivated that I needed to be a part of this getting more African Americans in the Coast Guard. Because there were very few. Black folk just didn't know anything about the Coast Guard. They didn't have relatives who had joined the Coast Guard. They knew about the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, but they knew absolutely nothing about the Coast Guard, just like myself, who knew nothing about the Coast Guard 2 weeks before I joined. So from that event, and then having a chance to go to Coast Guard Officer Candidate School, I got involved with an organization called the National Naval Officers Association. And that organization was all about mentoring. That organization was all about playing it forward. If we knew something, we were going to share it with as many Black officers as we could. Black officers, Black enlisted. We weren't keeping anything to ourselves. We were all about, if we found out something, a way to be successful, we were going to be sharing with as many officers as we could. And through that, I was able to meet an awful lot of legendary Black officers. I got a chance to go down to Pea Island in North Carolina, which was the place where the original Black lifesavers were stationed. It was just an organization of an all-Black life-saving station who set historic records in terms of rescuing people. I got a chance to meet the relatives of those people. Very interesting, very inspiring. But we decided as a corps of officers, and there were very few of us, as a corps of officers, we were going to make sure that each one of us was responsible for the other one, getting through and making it. And, you know, that lasted for my entire career. I became the commanding officer of the Eastern Region Recruiting Command, which was responsible for recruiting, Coast Guard recruiting on the entire East Coast. When I went into that job, the thought was, we just can't get enough black folk to pass the exam. We can't get enough people, black folk, to know anything about the Coast Guard. We just can't get them. 4 years later, we were setting records in getting black folk into the Coast Guard because we didn't think that they were doing all the stuff that they really needed to do to show that they were interested. Mm-hmm. If you want black folk to pass the exam, they can pass the exam just as well as white folk. You just have to get a large number of them to take the exam. You can't depend upon 1, 2, or 3. So we managed to get larger numbers of people taking the exam. We managed to get the word out in the black community about the Coast Guard. And we just were very, very successful in getting more and more and more. And when I retired, I think there may have been 12 African-American officers who had reached the rank of captain.
And you were one of them.
And I was one of them. We had, and when I finished, when I retired, we actually had 2 African-American admirals, and both of them were my friends.
Yeah, I want to really, for a second, because we don't have much time, they're going to kick us out in an hour. I mean, at 5 o'clock. But I really want to highlight that 12 African-American captains, 2, and I thought it was only 1 when you retired, but you say 2 XOs when you retired. You retired in 2004?
2004
or 5?
2000, somewhere in there. I don't know, Jessica.
It was right after I graduated.
Huh?
It was right after I graduated.
Right.
But the Coast Guard has been around for how long, Daddy?
Oh, right now, 230 years or so. Yeah.
230 years. And in the 2000s, we're still talking about 12 captains and 2 admirals.
And nowadays, it's probably less captains than that.
I mean, that, and my daddy is one of those captains.
Yes. I am blessed. I am really, really blessed to have been able to be in an organization that's, like the Coast Guard is really a high standard organization. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can get into the Coast Guard. So I'm really fortunate to have been able to not only get in the Coast Guard, but to have had a very successful career in the Coast Guard at the level of which I was able to attain while I was in the Coast Guard. I'm truly a walking blessed man.
But let me tell you,
before I let you all go, I want to ask you real quick. I know the answer to this because I grew up with you all, but the military played a huge role in who I am today. Even though I never served a day in my life, it played a huge role in who I am today in life and how I operate. And I'm sure that my brothers would say the same thing. And that is because of the 2 of you instilling certain things that the military gave to you and taught you all instilled those things in us. What are some of those things that you wanted to make sure that your children had based off of what you got from the military?
I think the one thing that I wanted was for my kids to take a part in the advancement. I wanted them to be strong people that could stand up and make the right statements at the right time and not be afraid. And like I said, I just wanted them to be a part of the community of African Americans who went before them to play a role in advancing that. I wanted them to be disciplined. I wanted them to be educated. and I wanted them to be very, very, very strong-willed people. And I think I got three of three kids with all of those characteristics. And I'm just, like I said, just a true, you know, all of my kids are blessings and gifts from the good Lord. And I'm just thankful for them all.
He sounds like he's got a lot of kids, doesn't he, Jeff?
He does. He only got 3 and 1 baby mama. 3 and 1 baby mama. That's it.
I got 3 and 1 baby mama, and that baby mama is an outstanding one. Yes, yes, yes.
Your son is also in here, and he says he spent 18 years in the Coast Guard as well. We all
absolutely.
Did. But go ahead, Mom. What were you gonna say?
I wanted to tell you that before NNOA, while your dad was stationed in Washington, his first duty station, he used to write a pamphlet, a little paper every week about the political atmosphere that was so negative. And do you remember writing that paper, Irv? He write it every week, and people would look forward to reading it. It talked about the injustices that we were dealing with. He would hit the Coast Guard with those words. Things were changing because of that little paper that he would write every week. Thing people don't know about, but I know because I was there watching him write it, and we talk about it. It had a lot of impact in the Coast Guard. That one little paper that he put out every week.
Well, I think that I can speak, and Brian's in here. Goal accomplished for both of you all. If that's what you were trying to instill in your children, I think that you all really, really instilled it in us. It's so funny. Like every Saturday we had to wake up and we had to clean that house and things like that. And as a grown woman, that's still the same way that I am.
That's Saturday, Black culture, boo. That's Black culture right there.
But it's a different level. This military cleaning is a different level. You know, I was teaching the guy how to make the bed, and I was like, you got to cuff it down at the bottom like this. He was like, what? Why do I do it? Cause my mama and my daddy taught me how to make a bed. This is how military folk make a bed.
Yeah,
that's how you do it.
There is a right way.
Y'all, if you're not tucking it at the end, if you don't have that little triangle, you're doing it wrong. You're not making your bed right. Right.
But I don't think you were ever in boot camp though.
Okay. We can agree to disagree.
maybe your brothers were, but not you.
Brian says we're the only 3 kids in the United States that do hospital tucks. True.
Okay. Right.
True. Thanks to you all.
Right.
But I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to both of you all, because when I called you an hour ago and asked you all to do this, Daddy was like, I don't really want to do this. Yeah. But I think that it is so important to know that, know what you've done. And Mom, what you've done, like, this is a team that came together and, man, did not only phenomenal things for your 3 children and the rest of your family, but for the United States through your work, both of you all's work in the in the Coast Guard. So, you know, on this Veterans Day, we salute you all and say thank you and honor you all. And I thought that it was a very, very important message, wanted especially for my nosy neighbors here in Charlotte, North Carolina, who are from Beatties Ford Road, to see the 2 of you all and see the phenomenal things that you all have done in the military on Veterans Day. I thought that it was a very, very important message. And I want to say thank you for coming on and sharing with me and doing my first interview with my mom and my daddy.
Hey, thanks to you, Jess.
Thank you, Jess.
I've experienced many Veterans Days. But this is probably the best one yet.
Aww.
So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to reflect and do it with my daughter. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you all want to see pictures of my daddy, I got them up on my Instagram page at Hey Miss Jessica, and all my uncles, both my Uncle Harold, my Uncle Wendell, my Uncle Donald, my Uncle Clarence, my Uncle Bill. They all up there in their military uniforms.
And your Uncle Bill was actually in the Coast Guard also.
Yes.
During the time when they only allowed Black folk in the Coast Guard to only serve as cooks and shoe shine folk and cleanup people.
Same time as Alex Haley.
Wow.
Yes.
Same time as Alex Haley. That's why he had no love for the Coast Guard.
Wow. Wow.
But he did love his Black officers.
Real quick, Daddy, because I only have like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but I really want to hit on this real quick. The talk, because this is now what's going on. The talk about, as you as a military man, how do you feel about this talk of when athletes kneel, it is disrespectful to the military? Real quick.
My opinion, that had absolutely nothing to do with the military, and there is no organization that cares and respects the rights. We live and die protecting folks' rights. That's what the military does. So that protest had nothing at all to do with the military. And as you probably know, there were lots of military people that were also kneeling in respect and out of honor for what the real message was. The real message was the disrespect that Black folk are having in this United States of America. The rest of it was an aberration, a pure aberration of the real message. So that's my emotional feeling.
I just wanted to touch on that real quick because that's real, that's relevant, that's what's going on right now. So thank you, Mommy.
You're welcome, boo.
Thank you, Daddy.
You're welcome, boo.
Love you.
Love you all. Thank you so much. And for everybody that's joining us, if you missed any part of this interview, I will have it up on our website, power98fm.com. All right, Mommy and Daddy, log out of my account. Don't read any of my messages. Don't comment on nothing. Log out.
All of her stuff right now. Okay, see you, boo. We're going to look at your stuff real quick.
Girl, I hope you ain't got nothing on that's going to embarrass me.
I love y'all.
Love you too, boo.
Bye. Thanks for everybody that tuned in. Bye, y'all.
Bye.